All right, all right, all right. What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to Creative Real Estate with Cash Money, Mike. I appreciate you guys being here. Right down on the bottom of the ticker here, actually on this first screen, you got a little graphic of myself. I've been invited to come on out into Wholesale Live, which is an amazing event. If some of you aren't familiar with wholesaling live, it's a one of a kind event where put about maybe 500 600 people into a room and you actually lock up deals live. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, you should definitely take a look at that. I've got a very, very, very special guest today. um, so this is somebody that I've known for quite a while. This is Sherry Lash here. Sherry is straight out of Michigan. About a little backstory on Sherry and myself. So right at about a year ago, I started just a small little group where we would meet every Tuesday or every Thursday. There were like 5 or 6 of us in this group, and everybody was kind of getting started on their own real estate journeys, and we thought it would be a great networking opportunity and kind of hold each other accountable, that we could meet every Tuesday and every Thursday for a couple of hours. And I soon became the leader of that group, kind of unintentionally. I don't think I think it's just kind of my personality on like how I kind of work. But ultimately, what had happened was we would just kind of hit it off every Tuesday and Thursday. We would talk about deals. We would talk about lead generating sources. We would talk about how to underwrite deals and how to structure deals and the whole 9 yards. And I have been teaching creative real estate for quite a while, but I never really came out from behind the curtains and kind of let people know what I was doing. Well, with the help of a few different influencers that are now really good friends of mine, and people like Sherry, where I was able to actually underwrite a deal for Sherry early on in her real estate journey, in her creative journey. We had wound up ultimately structuring a beautiful little seller finance deal that we're going to get into in just a minute here. All right. So here's Sherry's IG. You can go ahead and follow her on Instagram. Let her know that I sent you. Sherry, what is going on?
Not much, not much. Excited to be here. It's actually been a while since we've been on camera together, especially underwriting a deal. So I'm excited. I'm excited you to actually probably tear the deal apart because I know
I'm,
that's what you're gonna do. But
I'm excited. I'm excited also. So let everybody know here that you live in Michigan and it really doesn't stop snowing in Michigan until August. Is that correct?
yeah, I'm in South Haven, and it's June 25th, right? And we're finally getting nice weather. Yeah, it's crappy. It's crappy. Do you want to go back a little backstory on me real quick? One of the
I,
reasons why I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
no. Let them know. Let
Oh,
them know
okay.
who you are.
Okay. Because it ties into the snow. One of the reasons why I got into real estate is for the passive income journey that I would like to be on to retire my husband from snow plowing in the wintertime. So therefore we do not have to be here in the wintertime. And because yes, it stays cold probably 8 months out of the year. It's, every year it's getting more and more tiring, to be honest with you, and more annoying. So, that is one of that is my main goal on why I decided to get into the real estate journey, was to get him retired and get us out of here. And because we can do this from anywhere, I mean, and that was one of my main goals. So yep.
All right. So rumor has it that you have a boat, and when it stops snowing, you get to use that boat for a total of 2 weeks. Is that true?
A little bit longer than that, but
All
probably
right.
I feel like 2 months, right? Because April and May we're out there fishing, but I'm literally in my boots, my hat, my gloves, my hand warmers. So yeah, we stay on it every weekend now in the summertime because that's what we love to do. And so we just try to live it up as much as we can.
All right, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's kind of bring the people back. So about a year ago, right, we would meet every Tuesday and every Thursday. We would
Yep.
go through some stuff, and then all of a sudden, you had found a seller that you're like, Cash, this might be a good seller finance deal. Tell me a little bit about how you found the deal, why you thought it would be a good seller finance deal. I know that we had kind of gone through, you know, kind of underwriting and structuring in those little meetups that we would have every Tuesday and Thursday. But what was it about this particular house? Where is the house? What kind of property is it? Why did you think it would be a good seller finance deal? And just give me a little backstory on that.
Yeah, so my main, as a real estate investor, my main lead generation is text messaging. So had text message this gentleman out of Illinois, and he had a house here that he had went through an eviction on, been sitting for a while. Um, he did. It's kind of different. I don't know if he was really motivated, but he was just such an easygoing guy that, he wasn't looking for a big, he didn't need, I guess I should say, he didn't need a big, payday at the end of the day. And, we went through, the house needed some work. It's in a, I guess it's in a D area. And me and Mike went back and forth on whether I should actually buy this deal because of the neighborhood, but it is on a better block. And, the seller understood how much work that we were going to have to put into it to get it rental ready. And, he was open to me, buying it on some terms. And so we went with it. It probably took a couple weeks to come up with something that worked out for both of us. And, that's really where you came in, when we really went into the underwriting and the negotiation part of it, and, came out really good in the end. And me and my husband put about 16,000 sweat equity into it. And, we're cash flowing 545 a month on it after expenses are paid.
All right, so now here's the question. You said it's in a D area,
Mm-hmm.
and you were a little bit nervous about the D area, and we had a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of conversations, and I kept saying to you, I go, Sherry, there is nowhere to go but up in these areas. So, what was the mind shift that had to happen in order for you to understand that, hey, there was opportunity there? Now that you've bought the deal and you've been cash flowing, and you see how well it works, are you just as skeptical about getting into a D area as you were before? And just give me the mind shift there.
The mind shift was really just like go for it and it's gonna work out. I tend to talk myself out of a lot of stuff, which I'm sure a lot of people out there do that, and it kind of makes you lose deals. So the mind shift was just really trust it, let's just go for it. And it all came down to the numbers, right? So the numbers were on paper, and it's like you have to trust your numbers. If you see the numbers on paper are going to work out, then you just got to go for it, and don't think twice about it. So that was the really mind shift, was okay, this is your opportunity to pick up a house. You got your husband over here that says we can have it done in 6 weeks. It's going to take this much into it. So we did the rehab budget in there. And, and I think the real shift for me too was when we underwrote it, like, I'm going to have it paid off. Well, I'll probably refinance it, but technically the house would be paid off in literally 2.5 years. So that's a big mind shift.
What are some of the challenges that come along with a D area? So I know there we would refer to this house as the meth house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was a D area and the area was a little bit shaky. And I kept saying, hey, there's no place to go but up. And you're like, Mike, this is like a highly, like there's a lot of meth running around. And
That and shootings. I mean, there's signs all over the neighborhood, from parents to stop the shooting. I think the biggest challenge at that point in time was my husband was pretty annoyed. It was wintertime. We did this in February. So after he's done plowing, we're going down to the house. And I think the biggest challenge was literally not being able to leave any tools there.
hmm,
Frank was scared to leave tools in there because they'll just shoot the window and go in the house. They don't care.
Hmm.
So, it's the middle of winter time and we're carrying everything out, carrying everything in every day. I think that was the biggest challenge. The block has ended up being a pretty decent block. The neighbors are really nice. We met all of them during the time. And I think, yeah, the biggest thing was just like, you can't leave anything there.
All right, so let's kind of get into the nitty gritty about the deal. But before we do, if you're following me here on Instagram Live, inside the comments, just comment right down here the word Facebook. I'll send you the link so that you can get into this live stream that we got going on with my girl Sherry Lash out in Michigan. We're going to talk a little bit about the deal that I had structured for her, and then ultimately what that cash flow looks like for her cash on cash return, and then we're going to be talking about a great event that we're going to be having out in Michigan. I'm actually going to make my way out there and put on a master class in Michigan. All right, so here we are. We're in a D area. We're in the meth house. And we had this joke. We kept saying, we said, all right, we're going to turn this meth house into a math house, right?
Yep.
And can we make it happen? And you know, what does the seller want and what does the seller need? So before we get into the underwriting portion of it, the thing about seller finance is this: for those of you who are brand new that are watching, you know, the real advantage that you have with seller finance is that you can sometimes overpay for a piece of property. And I know that sounds kind of weird to people, but you can either give sellers exactly what they want, or sometimes you can overpay for the piece of property. Now, for people who just do straight wholesale, they don't really understand it. They're like, well, I don't get it. Like, how do you overpay for property and how do you give sellers what they want? And in exchange for giving the seller what they want, we as creative investors are looking for one thing in return, and that is time. So, in other words, would a seller take more money, understanding that the probably the most important thing to the seller is going to be the purchase price? And if that's the most important thing, how do we exploit that in a way where we can give them exactly what they want and in exchange ask for one thing, which is time? In order to understand that, you also need to understand where the money goes. So before we get into the actual nitty gritty of Sherry's deal, I want to talk to you a little bit about how a bank operates, okay? Because there's two things you need to look at here. When you're looking at seller finance, you need to look at it through the lens of a bank and how a bank operates. And then what you need to do is you need to understand that that seller is going to be the bank for you, but not in the traditional sense where they're going to actually hand you money to go buy a piece of property. They are going to literally loan you their equity. So when you understand how a bank operates and how they make their money, you're going to want to flip the script and see it through a different lens and structure a deal that a bank would never structure traditionally. Understanding one thing and one thing only that's going to move the seller is going to be the purchase price. So if somebody wants to buy a piece of property traditionally, they've got to go to a bank, and a bank is going to tell them, hey, you can qualify for this amount of money. We're only going to lend you this amount of money and you're going to pay this interest rate. You don't have a choice on how much a bank is going to give you. A bank is the most protected institution out there, and what they're really looking to do is make sure that if you don't pay for that piece of property or you miss payments on that loan, that when they take the property back after they've made all their fees and everything else, that they're not sitting in the negative. So they'll usually only lend at about 80% loan to value when it comes to single family homes. So it is, and what the bank is really concerned about is the bank is concerned about the interest that they make each and every month. But when you're talking about seller finance, what you're really looking for with seller finance is principal pay down. So the bank would lend you a certain amount of money at a certain interest rate for a certain timeline. With seller finance, you're always trying to buy the piece of property for as low as you can, with the lowest payments that you can make, with the lowest interest rate that you can pay over the longest timeline. So it's just really seeing it a little bit in reverse and trying to structure it. Now, when you know where the money goes, it makes it very easy to structure these deals. So I remember when I was structuring this for Sherry, Sherry was like, I just don't get the math. And I said, that's okay. Nobody gets the math. But let me show you where the money goes, Sherry, because you're going to take a certain amount of cash to give this seller. You're going to take a certain amount of cash to renovate this property. You're going to take a certain amount of cash to close this property. And we're going to take all that cash and we're going to add it up. Simple. Simple addition. It's going to say, hey, I'm going to spend X amount of money to get into this property. I'm going to give the seller a down payment with which Sherry gets to negotiate. See, the bank says you have to give me the 20%. Sherry gets to negotiate that. And the way Sherry negotiates it is that when she doesn't want to come out of pocket for more than what she's comfortable with, she'll add on to the purchase price and extend the time, because Sherry now knows with time she's going to make more money. So we take all that cash and we say, okay, between the closing and the amount of money that we gave to the seller and all my rehab costs and all my closing costs and all that stuff, I'm going to spend $20,000 to get into a piece of property. And then what is it going to pay me back over time? So there's 4 things that you're going to want from your real estate investments moving forward. If you're watching me live on Instagram, or you are here on this live stream, specifically on Instagram, go ahead and comment the word Facebook down in the comment section. It'll send you a link to this live stream. The 4 things that you're going to want from your investments are going to be cash flow, leverage, tax advantages, and appreciation. Without going too far down a rabbit hole, let's get into the numbers of Sherry's deal. Okay, so let's talk about the actual piece of property. Sherry, how many bedrooms, how many baths?
Are we underwriting the new one I have, or are we talking about the one I already have?
We're going to underwrite the new one right after we just do a little backstory on this one.
Okay, gotcha. 2-1.
It's a 2-1. Okay, what was the seller asking for the piece of property originally?
$22K cash.
How much did you wind up paying him?
27.3.
Okay, so you went over by $5,300. You were probably the only one out of all your peers that could offer that kind of money. Yeah?
Apparently, because I got the property.
Okay. All right. Apparently. So $5,300 more than what he was asking for. And do you think by offering him more money that it persuaded him to take the payments over time?
Yeah, I think so. You know, yeah, because it was 22 cash, and then we went into negotiation on, paying more, and then we went up to 25K. Then we started talking about interest rates. So then we had to negotiate the interest rate part of it. And yeah, I mean, he was happy. I think part of it was too that we had so many conversations that we built that good rapport right there. I think which really helped as well. Making, I wouldn't say making, but just ensuring to him that, these payments are going to be made. If I miss one payment, you get the house back and all the renovations that I've done on the deal. So basically, if I don't pay, you're coming out with a, $100,000 house, that I'm not taking care of. So that, that was a little persuasion as well too. But, we've talked about it before, and he was a very easygoing gentleman for my first seller finance deal. He made it nice. So,
All right, so you overpaid by $5,300.
Yep.
Are you paying any interest on that loan at all?
No.
Okay, so you overpaid for a piece of property and you're not
Mhm.
paying any interest. So
0% interest.
every time you make a payment, where does the money go?
Paying the principal down.
Paying the principal down. Okay. Now, how much money did it cost you to get into that deal?
We negotiated $5,000 down to him plus closing costs is what it cost me to get into the deal. Well, and then my rehab budget, we were just under 16,000, and we came in shorter than what you thought. You thought it was going to be about 20, and I was like, no, it's going to be 15, and we came out just under 16. So that was a good. So I mean, if you're counting that entry fee, it'd be the 16 plus the 5, and then I don't know, closing costs around here are pretty cheap. I think it was like $900 to close.
All right, so 16 plus the 5 is 21. Another $1,000. Let's call it another $2,000 just to call it just to be safe and say
Mm-hmm.
it costs you $23,000 to get into the deal completely between
Mm-hmm.
the down payment, the closing costs, the rehab budget. You're all in. You've got this brand new 2-1 totally renovated or renovated to the standards where you felt like you could get the highest rental rate from that, right? And then how much time? Well,
Yeah, we're not going to go there.
no, let's go there.
You're going to argue with me about rental rates.
Let's go there. Your
I
job.
kept it at 950. Mike said I should have been over 1,000. Here's where my mindset made me stay more conservative than to, I can raise the rents. We'll be all right. It's still cash flowing 545, so I'm not going to complain about that. But
All right. So I love that you said that because ultimately at the end of the day, what I'm really looking for as an investor is I'm looking to raise rents as much as I can. I want to decrease the revenue and I mean the expenses and increase the revenue. So the way to do that is to charge the most amount of money that you can for the rent as a real estate investor. Now, really, don't take this the wrong way because I don't want to say it the wrong way, but
I don't take anything from you the wrong
your
way.
your mindset should always be to raise the rents. If
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you don't want to raise the rents because you're scared of losing a tenant, you're not a true real estate investor. Now, you happen to be a true real estate investor. I'm going to give you a pass on that first one because it was your first one. But
Yep.
this one that we're going to underwrite today, for everybody that's watching, um, we are going to make sure that we get as much money as possible for the rental. All right.
Yeah, wait till you hear the rents from different property managers. It's you're gonna be like, okay.
All right, so $23,000 to get into the math house. You overpaid by $5,300. You got a 0% interest loan, and I heard you say it before. You are cash flowing at $545 a month, which
Mm-hmm.
is a grand total. Oh, oh wow, my calculator just went dead. Oh, all right. Sherry, you're gonna have to do that for me because I
What do
don't
we
have
got?
it.
25. What are we doing?
We got 545 times 12.
6540.
All right, so you're making $6,540 per year in cash flow. Now, when Sherry gives me the number of 545, she has already taken out all of her expenses. She's paid her property tax, whatever kind of utilities, whatever kind of insurance. So this is net cash flow to her. She's into the deal for $23,000. She is collecting $6,500 a month. So if all things remain the same, Sherry will get her money back at the end of 4 years. 6 times 4 is $24,000. See, very easy math. 6 times 4 is $24,000. I put $23,000 in. I get it back at year 4. How much time do you get to pay off the property?
We negotiated a 10-year term with a 7-year payoff.
Okay. So when you say term, you had amortized the loan over 10 years
Correct.
and you agreed to pay him off in 7 years. So now Sherry has an additional 3 years to collect that $6,500, which is another $20,000. And over the course of the 7 years, Sherry is going to raise the rent. The value of the property is going to go up, all while she gets to depreciate it. So you can see she's got an amazing, amazing seller finance deal. Now, let's underwrite the next seller finance deal live. All right. If you guys
Yeah.
have any questions, put your questions inside the chat box and we will get into it. If you are on Instagram and you'd like to get into this live stream, go ahead and comment the word Facebook down in the comments and we'll get you in here. All right, Sherry, let's get to it. Tell me what you think we need to do here.
I had to grab me some water.
All right, let's go.
All right. So this particular property has been brought to me from a wholesaler, and it's in Battle Creek, which is about an hour from me. And here we go again. Battle Creek is like Benton Harbor. It's got A, B, C, D, double F areas. So the first thing I did was I made a connection up there. Actually, it's kind of funny. I made a connection up there actually 2 weeks ago from an astro flipping guy. He worked for a Chevy dealer up there, and this particular astro guy moved to Florida. Well, he texted me the other day and says that he has this guy that works with him that wants to get into creative financing, and he's from Battle Creek area. So I talked on the phone with him, got to know him a little bit. And so when this deal got brought to me, I was like, oh, well, I just made a connection in Battle Creek. So let me call him and see if this is in a good area. He's been there for 10 years. He kind of knows Battle Creek. He's like, it's actually right down the road from his work. And so he drove by there, actually did some video for me of the neighborhood. He's like, this is actually a better area of Battle Creek. I'm like, cool. So I wanted to know that first before we went into, me underwriting it. I wanted to know the area. So I called around to some property management companies, talked to a couple of them on Friday. So I got a couple rents that are all over the place. We'll get into that once we start underwriting the deal. But so it's in a better neighborhood. So this particular property is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I got to bring up my sheet. 720 square foot upstairs. It's got a finished basement, and it has a like a 1-car detached garage.
Okay.
So where do you want to start? You want me to give you the terms that they're giving me? This house is pretty much, so the pictures are from a year ago, and there's a tenant in there right now that's going to be out August 1st. So provided that they haven't done anything to the house, it's updated. I literally will not have to put any money into it.
Okay.
So there's no rehab on this particular one, which is cool.
What is the current tenant paying right now?
You know that I didn't ask.
Shame.
I know it. Why didn't I ask that?
I don't know. Shame.
I know. I have talked to I talked to 2 property management companies. They're far apart on rents.
Okay.
So the one is just an independent property management, and he's saying 800 to 850 in rents. Now I talked to a property management guy through a realtor service, and he said that he could easily get me 1150 to 1275 in rent. So I'm like, that's a big difference right there.
All right. So when I hear 2-1 and I hear about math and meth are your last deal, and I give you a little flack for not charging more money. Anytime that I hear 2-1, I'm saying to myself, it's definitely a C or a D area, right? It's
Mhm.
definitely like super easy to get into. I
Mhm.
know that the price point is not very high. So I'm liking where it's at already. I love that it's tenant occupied on a month to month that ultimately can we can move the tenant out. But what's so important here is that one question I just asked you is
Yep.
what is the current tenant paying? Because if we can understand that, not only can we understand the amount of room that we have to raise the rents inside there, it's also we can get the seller exactly what they're netting without having to worry about the property. So not only is it good for you to know of where the property could be, it'll absolutely help you in the negotiation.
Mhm.
Because any tired landlord, quote unquote tired landlord, is absolutely tired of the landlording part. They're not tired of the money part. They love the money part. They just don't want to deal with the tenants and everything else. So understanding the answer to that question or knowing the answer to that question is going to be absolutely huge. Now, I heard you earlier. You said this came from a wholesaler somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Is it under contract? Does that wholesaler have it under contract?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, the the wholesaler has structured some terms already with the seller.
Yes, which is what
All right.
which is the terms I'm going to bring to you.
Okay, let's go. So, what is the purchase price? I'm going to ask some questions. You answer them.
Okay.
What is the purchase?
Remember this is a sub 2 and a seller finance, so it's like a hybrid.
Oh, this is a hybrid. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So, for those of you who don't know what a hybrid is, it is subject to and it's seller finance. In other words, there's an underlying loan on the property that Sherry is going to take or potentially take over, subject to, and then she's going to have the seller finance the equity. And these are the terms that the owner has brought to the wholesaler, and the wholesaler has brought to Sherry. Okay. So what is the first thing I want to know here is what is the fair market value of the piece of property? I'm not so concerned about the ARV because you told me it was renovated, ready to rock and roll. So
Mhm.
what is the property really worth right now?
The realtor that I talked to yesterday, he said 120, 125.
All right, so let's call it $125,000 is fair market value.
Mhm.
What is the amount that's owed on the existing loan?
58,767.
Okay. Now, anytime I hear to myself, I say to myself, 2-1, $60,000 owed on the loan. Why is somebody allowing you to take it over subject to? If there's 125, if the fair market value is $125,000 and there's a $60,000 loan, why doesn't the seller just go and put it on the market?
I got to go back and look at our conversations.
That's what I want to know as a as an investor. I want to know why you didn't sell the house. There's obviously some equity there. If you tell me it's worth 125 and 60 is owed, why haven't they gone and sold it? And the house is renovated? Why haven't you tried to go ahead and actually sell the piece of property? That's my first question. Now, if the property owner is an investor who understands subject to and seller finance, that's a different story. And personally, I want to stay away from those investors. I want to go straight, I want to go direct to seller, and I want to be mom and pop. I don't want to deal with another investor. So my hunch is right off the gate is that this could be another investor. There's $60,000 worth of equity. They're going to allow you to take it over subject to. It's fully renovated. There probably isn't a pain point if it's renovated. So why would they allow you to take it over subject to?
So I'm looking back at my notes because I did ask what's the motivation. And he said motivation for the seller would be because she doesn't live there. She lets her sister live in it, but her sister is moving out soon, so she gets to sell it. Cash offer didn't work for her, obviously, because the price was too low. So terms it is.
Okay, so the
So here
wholesaler
they're offering more money. That's my sense, right? Is they offered her more money for a creative in a creative way so she could get what she wants.
understood. So ultimately, the cash offer that the wholesaler made her was too low for her to accept. There's probably some room in there, and she technically would sell it for cash if she got close to her number.
Which I don't know what that number was.
Okay.
This I don't know. I'm just
Okay.
bringing the deal from the terms standpoint. I don't know any of that backstory.
So if she got in my opinion, if she probably got close to the number,
So the 115, or the 125, I'm guessing, because
she would probably sell the piece of property.
yeah, because the as we go through the terms, the seller finance and the sub two taking over the mortgage adds up to 115, which is probably what she would walk away with.
Probably what she would walk away with. Okay, so now this wholesaler structured terms for you.
Hmm.
This is an Astro student, you said?
No, this guy's not. No,
Okay. Is
no,
this guy
the guy that that went and looked at the property was from an Astro.
understood?
Yep.
Is the wholesaler who's bringing you this deal, is this a sub 2 student?
No.
Okay. Let's get into it. So, what are the terms that wholesaler negotiated?
All right. So the subject to is the balance of 58,767.
Okay.
It's at a 4.375 APR.
Okay.
The total PITI is 707.29.
Okay.
And the seller carryback is 51,233
Okay.
at 1.5% APR
Okay.
with a 50-year amortization
Okay.
and a 7-year payout.
So ultimately, it's 109 for the property. It's the $58,000 that's owed, and
Mhm.
it's 51,000 in seller carry, which is 109.
Yeah, and here's what and then he has on here that $10,000 assignment fee to him and 5K to the seller at closing on top of the 51,000 seller carryback.
Okay, understood. All right, so now we've got a 4.375, 707 payment, and now we've got a payment to the seller. So I don't have an amortization calculator in front of me. I'm hoping that you do. This way you can do it. I can't get off the stream. But what I want you to do is just punch in
Hold on,
this.
let me get to it here.
Yep, I'm going to make it real easy here.
Yeah, he has a if he's correct, he has 121.43 monthly payment to the seller with that amortization.
Okay. So right out of the gate, right, the deal is like a no deal
Mm-hmm.
from a cash flow perspective, right? Like perspective, because ultimately, if you're paying 707 to 29 on the sub two, and you're paying 121, you add those two together, you're at 828. You don't know what the rental rate is. One property manager is telling you can get between 800 and 850, which
Mm-hmm.
puts you at a cash flow of $30, and you haven't cut the lawn yet. So you're gonna
Yeah.
lose. So you're gonna lose money there.
Mm-hmm.
In order for the deal to make sense from a cash flow perspective, you would have to increase the rents to right at about 1150, 1200. It's not a great deal. It's not a Math Avenue deal, right? Because you've got such a low purchase price of $27,000 with a
Mm-hmm.
cash flow of 545. Now we're looking at a payment of 828, a rental rate of 850. We're going to lose money after we cut the lawn. And then ultimately we would have to stretch to 1100 or 1275.
Yeah, and I got to factor in, it's an hour away. So my consensus over there from the two that I talked to is it's a 10% property management fee per month as well. I'm not going to manage a property that's an hour from me. I manage Monroe because that's only about 20 minutes for me, but I'm not going to manage that one. So
Yeah.
I know we can't negotiate on the sub two. I did reach out to the wholesaler and I don't think he understood my question because I was like, why does a seller want to walk away with so much? And he's like, I don't think 5 grand is that much. And I'm like, it's 5 grand at closing, but your seller wants to walk away with $51,000 ultimately. So I don't think he knew. Like, I'm like, okay, I can pay the 5 at closing. That's not a big deal. But where are they getting, like, why do they want 51,000? Like trying to get like, oh, that's the equity, or he hasn't responded to me. That was this morning or last night when I did it. And so I don't know if I threw him for a loop right there. I'm like, he's trying to walk, she's trying to walk away with 50, ultimately 51 plus 5K I'm going to give her at closing. So basically she's wanting to walk away with like $56,000. So that's the part I think, that's the part that's the only part that's going to be negotiable. And it's not a bad interest rate. Like 1 point, what was it? 1 point,
It's all nominal. It really doesn't matter because when you got a 50-year term, you're spreading out $51,000 over 50 years. It makes it's nothing. It's $1,000 a year, right? Divided by
mhm.
12, which is $100, which is $123 per month. So that's an easy, like when you're amortizing it over that long, you could pay 6% interest. It wouldn't make a difference here. The real difference is the amount of cash flow that you would get from the deal because the deal is so incredibly tight. So now
Mhm.
it's like, what could you do with the deal? I don't believe the long-term play here for somebody like you is to hold the property for the long term because you don't have enough of a call, enough of a time period. So if you could stretch this, for instance, if you can go back to the seller, if you could pay the wholesaler to get the hell out of the way, go back to the seller and say, "Hey, listen, I'll give you $53,000. Like it's 58 and change. It's 58 and change on the mortgage. It's 51, which is 109. It's really 109, right? From like her standpoint, you go in and say, "I'll give you 115 for it, but I want to make you 48 additional payments."
Mhm.
And you've just asked for 4 more years.
On top of the 50 years?
No, the call period. You've got a balloon
Oh,
that
oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to
You lost me
extend
there
the
for a second.
I'm trying to extend the balloon,
Okay.
right? So if you can
Mhm.
get the wholesaler out of the way, you go back to the seller and say, "Hey, listen, I'll give you 110 for the one right now it's 109. I'll give you 115 for the property. I'll give you $6,000 more than what you're getting right now, but what I want to do is I want to make you 48 additional payments." And what I did there was I extended your balloon. Are you tracking?
Yeah, in my mind,
This is the part where Sherry
this
starts
is
to
the
freeze
part where
up.
the rat breaks down.
This is the part where Sherry starts to, all the math starts to flow in her head. She's like, "Rah, rah." You can like see like the springs flying
Yeah.
out.
So
So
if
let's
I get,
let's talk about it for a second.
yeah.
There's an underlying loan that you're going to make a payment of $700 roughly.
Mhm.
You're going to make a payment roughly to the seller of $150, right?
121.
123. I'm rounding up. I'm just going to
I
round.
know we always go up, 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 up.
I'm just gonna round up. So you're making a payment, right, of $700 on
Mhm.
the sub two loan. You're then making a payment of $150 to the seller each and every month. You're coming out $850. You don't know what the rental rate is, but one property manager is telling you that you can get $850. Is that a cash flowing deal?
Oh, hell no.
Hell no. Okay. So in order for you to have a cash flowing deal, you would have to produce rents of right at about 1150. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You collect 1150, you pay out 850, now you're collecting $300 every single month. Right?
Well, yeah, the way I did it was, so if I were, so my payments basically would be 850 all in, and then I got property management at $85 a month. So I'm actually all in at 935.
It's worse.
And yeah, no, it's like $215 cash flow a month.
No, you got zero cash flow a month because you don't know what the hell the rental rate is. What if you could only produce $850 and you couldn't get what you think you can get? You're in the negative. It's going to cost you money to run the property every single month.
Yeah.
If you've got to make a payment of 707 to the bank and you've got to make a payment of 123 to the bank of the homeowner, let's call her name Marie. So you're making a payment of 707 to Bank of America. You're making a payment to Marie, the Bank of Marie, for 123. You're
Mm-hmm.
into it for 850.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to pay your property management. You're into it for 950 a month, but you can only fetch 850 in rent. You're going to lose $1,000 a year.
So I guess I'm confused on if I pay 4 more years on the house, how is that going to be cash flowing?
No, what I said was if you can extend the balloon
Mm-hmm.
and you can get the rental rate to 1150, then it would make sense. So let's just say, ready?
Mm-hmm.
You pull the rental rate to 1150.
Mm-hmm.
You're now paying and you manage it yourself. I don't care how long of a drive you got to take. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that long. Okay? It's 1150 that you're bringing in and you're putting out 850. You're now $300 a month positive. $300 a month is $3,600 a year.
If I times that by 7,
How much would you collect if you multiplied it by 7?
25,200.
How much would you collect if you multiplied it by 10?
Multiply that by 10?
Multiply the cash flow by 10.
Go ahead.
$3,600 times 7 is how much?
Holy crap.
It's multiplication, Chair.
25 too. That's why we're on this.
All
And
right.
then multiply that by 10?
No, now
No.
take $3,600 and multiply that by 10. Instead of multiplying it over 7 years,
Yeah.
multiply it by 10 years, and you're going to come up with $36,000.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
For a difference between the two of 11 grand. Yes.
Yeah, but that still doesn't pay off the
Listen,
51,000.
listen. What you're doing is you're extending the balloon so that you collect more cash flow, all while you raise the rents over the 10 years and
Right.
the value of the property goes up over 10 years. There's three things you're banking on here.
Mm-hmm.
Four things: cash flow,
Right.
leverage,
Mm-hmm.
tax advantages, and appreciation. Now, since it's 1.5% interest and you're making a $123 payment, let's say $23 of that was going to interest, and now $100 is coming off the principal. That's $1,200 a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Times
Mm-hmm.
10 years. is $12,000 in principal pay down, $36,000 in cash flow, for a total of $48,000, all while you raised rents, depreciated the property, and the value of it went up.
I forget about the appreciation too.
That's because you're looking straight at the cash flow. And
Right.
that's great that you're looking at the cash flow, but what you need to be looking at, you need to be looking at all three of those, all
Mhm.
four of those.
Mhm.
The cash flow, are you going to be able to leverage it at a certain point? So, in other words, 10 years is a cycle of real estate. So you buy this piece of property, they agree, you agree to give them 115, right?
Mhm.
Which is $6,000 more than what she's asking right now. If I extended the balloon to 10 years, all I've got to do is take the $6,000, divide it by 10 years, right? And I've got
Mhm.
to make up $600 in appreciation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
No, it's still, I know it's I know where
You know me. I know.
I know
I have
where it
another
is.
question. What if I turn around and wrap this to a homestead?
All right. So I started saying before, I said there's what is the exit strategy here?
Yeah,
It's
well,
not
I'm
a
trying to determine that based on the numbers.
exactly. It's not a great buy and hold.
Mhm.
It's great. It's a great buy and hold for somebody who's got a larger portfolio and they want to use the property strictly for the depreciation.
Melissa said, say that again. Should we explain what we're talking about by wrapping it? I don't know if it matters. Oh, it froze
Who
up.
who pays off the balance? That's a great question. All right, so let's get into some of the
Because I'm
questions.
thinking maybe wrapping it would be my best exit strategy for this property.
Okay, so why would wrapping it be your best exit strategy?
Because I can get a down payment from the seller to cover some of my entry fee. And then obviously I'm going to charge higher than the 4.35 and the 1.5%. And the ultimate, the house payment's going to be obviously larger. I mean, we'd go in it for at least 1,200. So I know I would be, and then they're paying the taxes and the insurance. And then I'm just collecting the in between.
All right, what happens if they don't pay?
Well, I mean, then I know then I'm going to have to pay it, but I
And
foreclose on them and then I start over.
then you start over again. Okay, I want to give everybody everything. I don't want people to think that, there are no setbacks to subject to,
Hmm.
right? At the end of the day, again, there's an underlying loan, there's an insurance policy on there. You're
Hmm.
going to wrap it to another you're going to wrap it to another buyer, you're going to take a down payment, um, right? You're going to take a down payment and then ultimately the real risk is that if somebody doesn't pay you, all right?
Hmm.
Melissa says, but who pays the balance off? That is such a question of that mindset is an appreciation mindset. So here's what I would challenge you to do, Melissa. The big money game is played through refinancing property. Over a certain amount of time, the property value is going to go up. Historically, for all the time, the property value in America goes up. A typical cycle is right at about 10 or 12 years. Okay. So, who pays the balance off is Sherry, as an investor, is not looking to pay the house off. Sherry's looking to refinance the property, pull the money out of the property completely tax free, and go buy another piece of property. So when you say who pays off the balance, You mean who pays down the balance? Your tenants. Who pays off the balance? The new loan. And you'll say to yourself, well, why would you take a new loan? You take a new loan so that you could pull the equity out of the property tax free. There's a new loan on it. But by the time Sherry pulls the new loan on it, the rental rates are at $1,400 a month. So the tenants are paying for that loan again, and Sherry's grabbed the money and ran. And guess what? She still owns the property. And the cycle starts all over again. So when they say long term, this is all about money and time. That's who pays off the balance, are your tenants. Your tenants pay your cash flow, and your tenants pay down the balance. Here's the next question. So by extending the balloon, is it still a hybrid? A hybrid deal is part sub to and part seller finance. Subject to is just a loan where you're taking over the payments of the loan. Okay? Seller finance means there's no loan on the property whatsoever. The homeowner is going to finance you their equity. Okay? A hybrid is part sub to, part seller finance. They're combined together. So by extending the balloon, is it still a hybrid? Absolutely, it's still a hybrid. That's not going to change the fact that there's a loan under somebody's name attached to the property. All we're trying to do by extending the balloon or the call is that Sherry gets more cash flow. She
And I
also
still and I still want to do that even if wrapping it's the best strategy. I still want to get a 10-year or maybe 11 actually. 11-year payoff even if I wrap the property.
yeah, you still got a payment to make, don't you?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you still got a payment to make.
Okay.
Now, could you get out of it sooner? Absolutely.
Well, right. Yeah.
Could that buyer, you don't have any control over the buyer. Could that buyer go after buying it a year? Let's just say they bought it from you today. You wrapped it to a buyer. What is preventing a buyer from going to a bank and getting a loan?
Well, mainly their credit.
No, it's the value of the property. If there's not enough there for a bank to lend to them, then they can't get a loan. But what happens if they bought the house today on a wrap from you and in 12 months the property value went up 20%? Could they go get a new loan on it? Yeah. And then you're done, the original seller is done, and it's over. Now they own the house in their name with that loan.
And I'm paid off what I wanted to get out of it.
You've already gotten, that's why your down payment is
Ah.
probably the most important thing, right? So you
Mhm.
can elevate the purchase price on that because you're willing to finance them. So on a $120,000 property, you're going to go wrap it for 135.
Well, I'm thinking in my mind right now that my total purchase price is 109 and wrapping it for like 125.
Okay, but if you wrap it for fair market value, so by you elevating the price, you're guaranteeing the cash flow.
Okay.
So if the fair market value is 125 and you right now today and you sell it for 140, the question is when is the market going to catch up to 140 in order for him to go refinance? So by you elevating the purchase price, you're guaranteeing your cash flow.
Hmm. Hmm.
By you elevating your purchase price, that you're going to sell to a wrap buyer, you're guaranteeing the cash flow. So let's say fair market value right now is 125
Mm-hmm.
and you wrapped it for 130, $5,000 more. But this year, the Fed gets on the TV tomorrow and says interest rates are at 3%, and the values of the property rise 20%. Are they going to be able to go back to a bank and say, you know what, I want a new loan? Hell yeah.
Right.
And then your cash flow disappears. You've already gotten your down payment, but by you elevating the purchase price just slightly, you're
Uh-huh.
guaranteeing your cash flow for a certain amount of time. You can't control the market.
Ah,
Does
I
that make
see.
does that make sense?
Yeah, it's clicking in. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh. So what would you charge as a down payment?
Well, what would a bank charge? They're now going to the Bank of Sherry. So what does Bank of America charge?
Hell, I don't know. Aren't they at like 20% most of the time?
20%. Exactly. 20%.
So charge them what a bank would charge.
Yep. So now, ready? You went into the deal for whatever, let's say you went into the deal 5,000 to the wholesaler, 5,000 to the seller. You're into the deal for 10 grand. You wrap it for 135. You wrap it for 130. You take 10% down. You're going to collect $26,000 minus the 10,000 that you paid. You're going to put $16,000 in your pocket. You're going to have a higher interest rate, and you're going to cash flow.
So how do you determine? Yeah, you know me. How do you? You can see it, can't you? You can feel it coming out of me.
I could see you.
How do you determine what their payment should be then, based on what you want your interest rate to be?
That is
Pretty
a
much.
great question.
Oh, it is.
That is a great question. The question is, how do you determine what the payment should be to the wrap buyer?
Mm-hmm.
What questions did you ask of the wrap buyer?
What can they afford per month, or what are they look? Yeah, what can they afford per month?
Thank you very much. Where do you live now? What are you paying now?
Mm.
What do you do for a living? Well, I'm paying $1,700 a month. You are.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
You can buy this house for $1,800 a month
Yeah, buy it and not be renting.
and not be. There you go. You were paying attention inside the training, Sherry.
It's all subliminal.
Now, all you do is you take that $1,800 payment, reverse engineer it, put it inside of an amortization calculator, amortize it over 30 years, and see what interest rate it spits it out at. I guarantee you the interest rate is going to be right at 13%. You're paying 4 to the sub 2, a point to the
1.5 to the
one
seller.
and a half to the seller. You're into it for 4.5%, and now you've collected $26,000 minus your 10. You pocketed $16,000, and you're making 7 or 8% on your money.
I think that's the only way this deal will work.
I agree. I could see your wheels turning there, Cher. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So who here? Go ahead.
Hold on a second. One
Okay.
of my part of my negotiations, should I offer the seller a little bit more down if they're going to argue about the longer balloon payment?
Well, that's what you're going to give. That's what you're exchanging. You're exchanging time for money. Because when you extend the time, you get more cash flow, another advantage to go ahead and raise the rents, another advantage to put more money in your pocket, plus you give the market an additional 3 years, right? By
Mhm.
extending the balloon from 7 to 10,
Mhm.
You're giving yourself 36 months.
Right.
12 months a year times 3 is 36 months. That's 36 months of collecting the cash flow, 36 months of the principal pay down, and 36 months of appreciation. Now you understand why the time is so important
Mhm.
inside seller finance.
Mhm.
The more time you get, the more money you can make. And if you're a wholesaler just trying to push seller finance as an option and not a solution, you're going to be unsuccessful. But Sherry found somebody who's tied to a number. She won't let it go for less. So the question is, if she came and offered her more, would she take the deal? The answer is hell yeah. Hell yeah. The problem is we have to get the wholesaler out of the way.
Yeah. I
See what
don't
I'm
see
saying?
how does that happen?
Guess.
Just give him his 10 grand to walk away?
Money. Money. And that's all negotiable too, because that deal isn't a great deal. And the wholesaler who brought you the deal and who structured the terms has no idea what he's doing.
No, when I mentioned why does the seller want to walk away with that much, and he said 5 grand wasn't that much, I'm like, that went just right over your head.
It went right over your head, which means your fee just went down. So now I'm giving you $2,000. I am the only person who's going to be able to buy it. I'm going to give you $2,000. I'm going directly to the seller. Get out of the way. We'll sign an agreement. No more negotiations there. All I need you to do is to introduce me, and I'll take it from here. And if you can't take it from there, I'll do it for you for a fee.
That smile. Yeah, that one. You're the best. I can't wait to see ya.
All right, let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Let's
because I
talk
got to get
about it.
off here. My husband's wanting to go. We got to go do some work on the boat, and he's chomping at the bit over here.
Get on that boat while it's still sunny. All right.
Uh-huh.
So July 15th, Benton Harbor, Michigan. Your boy
South
Cash
Haven.
Money.
South
Oh,
Haven.
I'm sorry, South Haven, Benton Harbor. We're going to drive through Benton Harbor, maybe. I
We're
don't know.
gonna we're gonna drive through the hood.
Um, yeah, South Haven, Michigan, July 15th. Sherry and a friend of hers are going to run or host, I should say, a seller finance masterclass. Your boy Cash Money Mike will be jumping on a plane and getting out there. So if you are interested in joining us, just go ahead and reach out to Sherry Lash on Instagram. Here is her Instagram handle. You can just shoot her a message and she will get you a link to get registered. This is a small paid event. She's putting in a lot of work and a lot of time to have me come on in there, and I'm not cheap. So what? So it's like a $40 thing for you to get in there. It's super easy, but I promise to pour into you and empty the tank like I usually do. A big thank you to my guest today, Sherry Lash. Again, make sure that you reach out to her on IG. She's a badass.
And lunch is provided at the event. Part of the paid. We're gonna have some pulled pork sandwiches and some side dishes to go along with the event too. So
I'll be coming eating calculators and
yeah,
dry
make
erase.
sure it's working.
Calculators and dry erase markers.
Yeah, I got to get a board for you yet.
Well, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Thank you for the deal. I'm glad that we were able to underwrite it. I know it's not, with this live platform, it's not easy to do it on a whiteboard, but I know that you know what you're talking about. Hopefully, all of you got something out of it. So I appreciate you being here, and I will see you. I'll see you in July.
Yeah, 3 weeks. It's like less than 3 weeks away, actually.
Let's go.
All righty, get your ticket.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Get your tickets. Reach
No,
out to
you
Sherry.
get your ticket.
Oh yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you later. Have fun on the boat.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye. All right, all right. That was Sherry Lash. She is absolutely amazing. Sherry's a good friend of mine and a badass investor. Let me talk to you a little bit about what I've got going on. So, July 15th, I'm going to be live in Michigan, South Haven, Michigan. You can join me live there. If you want tickets to that, you can reach out to Sherry. If you guys are unsure or don't know about Wholesale Live, this is going to be an absolutely amazing event. I got invited to get on out there. Um, you can get on out there and rub elbows with some of the top industry professionals. Wholesale Live is in San Antonio, Texas. It is an incredible event. 600 people last time inside one room, locking up deals live, which is absolutely amazing. So if you'd like a ticket to that, just reach out to me. If you are interested in any of my free stuff, what I've got going on for the month of July, I've got a free seller finance masterclass. You can scan that QR code right now and get involved inside that free training. We've also got an ebook coming out, Terms and Conditions Apply, Volume 1. This is a crayon language guide to seller finance. Makes it super, super easy. Get you to understand like what you're looking for when it comes to creative real estate. If you're looking for something a little bit higher level, I've got a private Facebook group called the Seller Finance Boardroom. This is a small paid group. It's only $99 a month, but I get in there once a week on a Tuesday. I've got about 70 investors in there. And I pour into you guys. We underwrite deals. I put a bunch of calls in there. We break down calls. My students bring calls into it, and it's absolutely amazing. All right. I appreciate you all being here for the my second live stream here. So I appreciate you, and I will see you all next time. Be sure to follow along on Instagram. Be sure to follow along on IG. And if you need tickets, make sure you go reach out to Sherry Lash, and I'll see you guys next time.